I want you to see the results of giving yourself. Because if you don't know you're dying for him or you're surrendering for him, you will never die. You'll say, no, I don't die. For he whom God has sent, speak these words of God. For God give not the Spirit by measure unto him. The law of exchange is this. Because Jesus gave of himself completely, totally. He gave totally. He gave all of himself, all his will. He gave it to him, to God. So God in response and in reward, he gave himself the anointed without measure. The power without measure. How could you like to have the power without measure? I'm going to say it again. How could you like to have the power without measure? Because the moment, listen, the measure you die is the measure God was going to release his power. God's power requires death to self, in which emptying of yourself, he becomes you and you become him. Jesus had to die to self. What does he have to die to? He had to die to the fact that he was God Almighty. Okay, let me give you an example. The law of exchange. So he was dying every day. But Jesus didn't have any sin. Why Jesus had to die? He didn't have any sin. Jesus had to die, listen, to the fact that he was God Almighty. And let me prove it to you. Your worst enemy come to you and said to you, prove me that you're a son of God. What could you do? Is that a temptation? Prove, change the stones into bread. And you know you got the power to do it. I can't hear you. In other words, you know the worst enemy comes to you and say, turn those stones into bread. And you know you got the power to do it. Temptation is to say, it's easy to do it. But Jesus said, no, it's out of the will of God, because I'm not going to fall into temptation just to prove a point to the devil. Okay, did you hear me, people? I said, did you hear me, people of God? So, but this is the point. Lift your hands and say, die to self. Come on, say it. Say it. So what does he have to die? To God himself, to die God Almighty. But listen, another time somebody went like, boom, in his face, slapping him in his face. And he said, prophesy. If you are God Almighty, and somebody slap you on the face, what are you going to do? Hey. You got all the angels ready to attack. You got weapons. You got Almighty, oh God Almighty, El Shaddai, and somebody slap you on the face. Isn't that you have to die? Because if it didn't, he couldn't go to the cross. Slapping him in the face. And he said, prophesy. Jesus said, Lord, I died to be God. Because I'm going to kill him, but I'm not. I'm going to die. If I kill him right now, I can't die for this humanity. I have to die for who I am. I am God Almighty, but I'm not allowed to use power as God Almighty. I am not allowed to use the glory. Touch someone and tell him, die. Come on, sit down. Touch your neighbor and tell him, die. So what does he have to die to? Huh? Every day. He was tempted to use the glory he left behind. He couldn't be omnipresent. He couldn't be omniscient. He couldn't be all powerful. He acted, the miracles he did it as man surrender. Dying to self every day, because God says, if I did it, you can do it. Somebody hurt you. Somebody has some forgiveness against you. You say, Pastor, they hurt me. I am hurt. You know what the next step? Oh, you're going to see who I am. Oh, yes, yes. So what do? No, you don't want to die. You didn't even stretch your hands. Come on. Die. You say, Father, that's my, even they did it unjustly, and I can take vengeance on this. I can do so many things. You know what, God? I'm not going to defend myself. I'm going to die to self, and I'm not going to oh yes, Lord, I'm going to forgive them. I'm going to forgive them. So Jesus every single day was dying. That's the reason God gave him power without measure. Oh, Jesus. Come on, put your hands together.